Record.
All right. So, hey, Tim here, and we're talking to Chris from Invisible Cartoon. So, welcome, Chris. Good to see you.
Well,
First thing I was wondering is when did Invisible Cartoons start playing together?
well, the origin of Invisible Cartoons started in 2012. Um, Justin, our guitar player, him and I, we've been friends since high school. So we was in different types of bands. And one day I had an opportunity to do like a song, like a kind of catchy poppy song for this Coca-Cola commercial.
Hmm.
And I asked him, "Hey, you want to help me write this song?" And he's like, "Cool, yeah, man." So we wrote the song. The first song we wrote, the song called "Hoodoo," which is on our album. So that was the very first song we ever wrote, and me and him wrote it together. And we put it together, and it was campy and fun. And we didn't get the Coca-Cola ad, but we wrote a song together. So he was like, we was like, hey man, let's try to get some stuff rolling. So this band pretty much started out with me and him, and then we brought in a bass player, and it was more of an acoustic. It was kind of more of a folky pop acoustic kind of vibe at first. And then like 2013, we started our drummer Jeff and Justin's in a band together called Facing Winter. So he had neck surgery that year, and when he recovered, he was like, he was down to come in and play drums. So he started playing drums, and then we became a little bit heavier, a little bit more, intense with what we were doing.
Yeah.
And then our bass player left. And then we got another bass player, and then he added some elements. And then when he left, we had another bass player, and then we added a keyboard player. And now what you hear now, to make the long story short, what you hear now, is what we are, smile rock, aggressiveness, fun, having a good time, uplifting the kind of music. So we've been around for like 8 years.
Cool. Yeah. And so you mentioned that you started with writing like a Coke jingle. Is has it been intentional to be like smile rock and like upbeat positive, or is it just like happened?
Um, it pretty much kind of came into his own. We knew because previous, like Justin is still in a band called Facing Winter, and they're more kind of folk, folk rock, alternative, a little bit it's kind of sad music, but it's also it's got a good vibe to it, but it's also more serious, and the name's Facing Winter. Winter sucks, so it's like that kind of vibe. But it was like a very serious kind of vibe. I was in a band for 11 years called Stuck Underwater, which was a metal band,
Hmm.
and I played trumpet in that band, and so obviously it's a metal band, so it was a little bit more aggressive and craziness.
I can't just leave that hanging. You played trumpet in a metal band?
Yeah. Look up Stuck Underwater. We're on Spotify. So all our albums are on there. So
Stuck
we've been doing that
underwater?
for Stuck Underwater, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I've really now heard horns in metal bands. So do you play are there any horns in Invisible Cartoons?
I don't do a lot of horns. I haven't really played horns in 4 years, but I can make a note and make a couple of notes and make stuff. I can make stuff make sense, but I'm not like phenomenal. I did enough for the like, with the band. It was like just little hits and stuff like that. And then I started getting sporadic, like Miles Davis with his experimental shit. I'm like and do some crazy stuff like that. And then we put some riffs on, and they're like, "Oh my god, you're amazing!" And I'm like, "Nah, man, I just made noise."
Yeah.
So I did that for 11 years. So we was in these different types of bands, but I wanted to do something a little bit more catchy and uplifting and positive, and with the vibe that we wrote for the Coca-Cola ad, I think it made sense. I think it made sense doing what we did to what we were gonna do moving forward, as far as the music, as far as stuff being more upbeat and positive and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And then the
So
whole smile rock thing just kind of came to be what it became. And now, yeah, man, that's we're definitely a little bit, especially with our new stuff, we definitely have a little bit more edge to us, but it's still, upbeat, fun, having a good time.
oh yeah, you all were the last band I saw live, March 14th. And I can't believe it's been that long. But yeah, I'm curious. So since you've had experience with other bands, does it feel different like playing shows, audience response being like intentionally like happy, upbeat?
Yeah, it's pretty cool because it's a lot more diversity. Like our music, and we don't really know what our fan base is because our music resonates from little kids to older people. I mean, I can literally say our age group is probably between 5 and 60,
Hmm.
or maybe 3, because my 3-year-old loves our stuff. So
Have you thought
so
of
it's like,
writing like kids
yeah,
songs?
so
About
that's a
that?
positive that he liked our stuff. But our stuff is very, just fun and catchy, and people like gravitate to it. And if it's danceable, man, regardless of what the age are, people just kind of like doing a thing. With my band Stuck on the Water, of course, it's metal. So I got a bunch of dudes, black shirts, kind of vibe, you know.
Um, yeah, so have there been any favorite places? Like, I guess, have you all played out of town very much, and have you had favorite locations?
Yeah, we played this little record store in Michigan City not that long ago. That was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, no, there were I think maybe 6 of us there, and I think there were people streaming too. So
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna tell you right now, man. If there's 30 people in the room and there's 12 people that just grooving, that's 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 who those are the people who I gravitate to. I mean, it's always good to have a lot of people at a show, but I also know we played up people. I know we played it in front of 100 people, and maybe 10 of them gave a shit because everybody else was watching the football game. So it was kind of like I gravitate to people who has a sense of you know passion about what we're doing. But as far as like favorite places, as far as out of town places, I do like the Avenue in Lansing. It's this place called the Comeback in Madison, Wisconsin, that we do really well at.
you just named like my favorite 2 music cities. So
Yeah.
that,
Madison is so it's just we end up playing 4 outdoor shows and a streaming show um this year. So we played 3 outdoor shows and a streaming show this year.
yeah,
Wasn't
so
cool.
I saw you did the online GTG fest.
Yeah, we did. So we did that. That was the last. It's funny because that was the last gig we did, and that was the last time I jammed with my band. And we were gonna resume jamming again in January.
Yeah, no, that was
Yeah,
I've been to GTG fest like 5 or 6 times, and the way they put it together online, it was fantastic.
it was awesome, man. It was phenomenal. I mean, I love those guys. I wish we could have, because we've been trying to get in GTG for like 3 years, and when Tommy was like, "Yo, man, you want to be part of it?" Like, cool. This was before COVID kind of blew up, and we was excited. We had a weekend tour. We was hoping to come back to Michigan City on our way to Lansing. So we was excited. We had so many shows. We try to average 30-40 shows a year, and
Wow.
that's pretty good for a band who we still have our 9 to 5s, and we just pretty much go on tour on the weekends and stuff.
Yeah.
So we lost all our shows. We lost
Yeah,
at least 5
are you
shows.
anticipating as soon as whatever it means, COVID's in the clear vaccine, do you anticipate resuming playing that often?
What we've talked about is we're gonna start playing shows, and we're probably going to stick with outdoor shows from like May to like late September, October. That's gonna give us time to work on our album, and in 2022, we kind of hope that by that time we can get back to playing 30-40 shows. So our goal of going back to what we did last year,
Mhm.
or what we was about to do, this year after our last shows with you before COVID got nuts. That's our goal for 2022.
All right, cool.
Yeah, so that's what we're hoping, and by that time, if things ain't into some type of new normalcy or something, or we can get back to concerts and stuff like that, then I have no clue. But
Yeah.
I'm definitely not anticipating 2021 for us to go back to 40 shows.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm very hopeful for some nice summer outdoor shows, and
Yeah.
I read too many threads of people arguing on Facebook about it. But
Well, I mean, we did outdoor stuff, and it's fine, man. It's like you just got to be cautious about it. I think we have a better think of less 9 months ago. We have a better sense and understanding about what we're dealing with, and we already got whether people like vaccines or not. They already have an idea in place. Even though if people did their research, they already had these things implemented, and they say, "Oh, wait a minute, this can probably work for this crap that we're dealing with. Let's swoop it up and see what happens." So if that's the case, then that's cool. But I mean, I think we have a better understanding to implement things a little bit better, especially for outdoor events and stuff like that. We did it, man, and we're good. I don't know if I'm going to play indoors anytime soon, but everybody, we gotta figure something out, because regardless of whether you like wear your mask, don't wear your mask, especially us as artists, man, we like a lot of these people. That's how I have buddies who that's what they do. They go on tour for 215 days a year. That's how they make their money. So
I think of all the
something
venues and their sound people and booking folks, and
right.
But anyway, Brad, did you have any questions?
Yeah, I guess I think one of the things that really interests me with every band is songwriting. One of the things that like everyone pretty much approaches it differently. And one of the things I was kind of curious is if you had like a particular track, if you wanted to go over the process towards writing it, or maybe just kind of explain that process more generally. I'm always just really curious, like how does a song go from just the idea to the final product?
Yeah, that's cool. You want me to like name a song, or you got a track in your head, or?
I mean, I guess I'll leave that up to you. Whatever.
All right, so okay, the first track on our latest EP, Slap Nasty, that came about our guitar player Justin. He came up with this riff, but it's funny because he came up with that riff like 7 years ago, and he was playing with it, and we were just kind of just like, and it was just one of those things where he had a riff, he was messing with it, nothing ever came with it, and then when this new incarnation of the band, because what we have now has been around, we've been together since 2017, and he brought that riff back, and when he brought it back, we had like a better sense of like, oh, okay, we got a better idea of what we needed to do. And we always name like when we come up with ideas, we always name it. So he named the riff Slap Nasty. And most of the time, when people name riffs, I usually just keep the name, because I write most of the lyrics. So they, I was like, man, that's a dope name, Slap Nasty. You just call it Slap Nasty. So we started doing our thing, started jamming out. And for that song, it was pretty much a typical thing. Somebody brought a riff in, and then we built that riff, and we built from that. So when we recorded the first album, me and Justin wrote most of the song. Well, we wrote all the songs. So we sat in the room. I had melody for him, and then he came up with ideas on the guitar, and then we put it in the studio. That album was probably more a studio album than like a full band type thing. And then we incorporated it live. But some of the stuff we're doing now, some of the stuff we did for the second release, was more band oriented. And everything like any other band, something always starts with a riff. And with that song Slap Nasty, and I like the thing, and we don't write a lot of songs, we want to write a lot of songs, but we're very crafty and try to put our stuff together. But for that song, I always like to have a theme. And for that, I came up. If you ever seen the music video, check out our music videos on YouTube, invisiblecartoons.com youtube.com/invisible cartoons, youtube.com/invisible cartoons. So we got all our music videos. We made a music video for Slap Nasty, and I created this soda pop for it. It's like this kind of old school vintage, like that soda pop that costs like a nickel and type stuff. So I created this vibe of what that vibe is, and the whole thing, like, so what does Slap Nasty means? And I was like, well, Slap Nasty is like I love Tim's hair, man. It's like dope. It's so awesome. It's Slap Nasty. It's like, I like this, I like that. I like this. Oh man, I like this beat. Oh man, this is Slap Nasty, son. It's like oh, kind of like a slang. But then we added a little soda pop to it. So we like drinking that Slap Nasty, get you that vibe. So yeah, we write whatever, man, because the beauty of our band, we're so self-sufficient. We all have recording studios. So we'll send demos to each other and say, hey, I got an idea, and then we'll sometimes build a song, especially with this, when we're not practicing every week, and when we have this lull of like, okay, we can't practice for 2 months, 3 months. We've been taking COVID serious. We stopped for 3 months, we resumed for 3 months, and then we stopped again for another 3 months. So
during that time, during that time, you all have like sent like music ideas back and forth.
Yeah.
That's great.
So we already got 6 songs. We already got 6 songs for our next album. We want to do at least 9 or 10.
Wow. Does that work?
Stuff like that.
Does that work as well for collaborating, to be sending things to each other?
It works when you know the people. I'm also a filmmaker, so I like sound design. I do sound design for like short films and compose music. And my keyboard player also does that as well. So we actually did a job together, where I had him come out. I had him, I say I need some keyboards. So I need like this synth kind of vibe for this movie I'm working on. And then he'll send me stuff. So right off the bat, we already kind of collaborating in that way. So us collaborating with the band is easy. And it's mostly me, my keyboard player, and my guitar player. Because I've known my guitar player for 20 years. So that's how we wrote Hoodoo, the song that we did for the Coca-Cola commercial. So we already had ideas. Like I pretty much, when you listen to the song, you hear like some beatboxing. So I'm not like a musician. I'm more of a composer. I take pieces of music and put them together. So I was like, I gave him a beat. I just like, and I made a loop of that, and then he built on that, and he played guitar, and that's how we kind of built the song that way. So we already been collaborating, like file exchanging, postal service type shit, regardless. It's easy for us because that's what we've been doing forever.
Yeah. And so do you all make all of your own music videos?
Yeah. We make our own music videos. We create our own merch. I work at a print shop, so if you see our vinyl, we made those. The vinyl cover, not the vinyl, but our stickers. We outsource our t-shirts here sometimes. Our hats, we get these embroidered from a company that my company worked for, and I get these hats. And so we're very self-sufficient. Like we're DIY to the max. Like we book our own shows, we make our own merch, we make our own music videos. We produce we make our own albums. Like right now, this is my recording studio. So I record all my vocals here. Then I send it to Justin. Justin, the guitar player, he does all the mixing. And then my keyboard player, he got his own studio. My bass player has his own studio. And my drummer, Jeff, he lives with Justin. So they both work in the studio. And he mixes all his drums. And then so we do everything, man. Like,
that's awesome.
I think that's how, honestly, man, in this day and age, man, and with as much people say, man, so much music out there and so much, it's so saturated. It's like, yeah, but there's a lot of crap out there too. It's like you just got to find stuff to stand out. And and
So
we have to just do our own thing.
so have you tried with COVID without playing regular shows? Have you had any success getting your music out there?
Yeah, as far as here's the bottom line. Our bread and butter is selling our merch and playing shows. Our live show is our thing. That's it.
Okay.
Now, finding a way to utilize that on the internet and sell product and kind of get people noticing in that way, it's been difficult, but we also haven't pushed it as far as we wanted to when it comes to that. As much as we like, as much as we're into marketing our brand and who we are, we're still trying to get a hang of certain things, especially when it comes to like, you know, promoting your stuff on the internet. That's what we've been talking about, and knowing that, we're gonna put out an album in 2022. Next year's about marketing the album and our vibe and all these things. So by the time we hit those 12, 13 months of like promoting and building up the atmosphere of what we're doing, by 2022, we'll have that vibe in place on the internet, and then we'll be back on the road playing shows. That's the hope. Because we'll never get away from that. That's what help us. Period. We're not the type of band that can really like make a living just using stuff online. We have to be in front of people's faces and perform. And who would have thought that something like this would have just stopped everything?
Oh, yeah.
And you don't think about that stuff, but now you think about it and say, oh, this is possible. And I think that's why we're so that's why we need to be so sufficient with everything, man, because we do everything and we have regular jobs. So it didn't hurt us too much losing money that we lost from playing shows and all these other things. So that didn't hurt us too much. So we we're just kind of waiting for the close to be clear to get back out there to really do stuff. But we're trying to get better at getting content out and putting that stuff out there to kind of get people noticing with us. I think the tricky thing is I don't want to go too far and say, hey, look at my band, look at my band, look at me, look at me, look at my band, look at my band. I want to build relationships with people. I want to have conversations. I don't want to be like, oh, by the way, I want to be like, yeah, check out my video, check out my video, check out my video, look at my stuff, blah, 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 blah. I don't want people doing that to me. I want to build friendships.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then within that time, they're gonna like, shit, man, I'm about this dude hat. I don't even have to ask him. So,
Oh, yeah. I get it. It can be exhausting to bug your friend.
Oh, it is. It is, man.
So I guess one question I have is, you're currently based in Chicago, is that correct?
Yeah, we're based in the Chicagoland area. We have some guys who live in the city. I live in Aurora, Illinois, and we got a couple people living there. So we say Chicagoland. So we're kind of. It's funny, we don't play Chicago a lot. We probably play at least 3 shows a year in Chicago. Chicago would be kind of shoegazing, a little bit too shoegazing for my taste. So when we go to those small ass towns, man, they ain't got nothing to do. Let's watch this dude with these pink shoes on dance around for like an hour. There's too much shit going on in Chicago. So it's like, so we're Chicagoland based, but we play a lot in small towns and burbs and stuff like that.
So yeah, I was wondering, do all the members do you all share some like similar inspirations for music, or do you all kind of have different music that influences you?
Yeah, it's funny, I can sort of speak for them, but I know for a fact, a lot of music that I grew up on was, I was a typical black kid from the west side of Chicago. I listened to Prince, Michael Jackson, any R&B, soul music, James Brown, and then I started gravitating to, in the 90s, I was listening to Korn and Tool and Deftones and stuff like that. And I never, I just gravitate to music. This is my philosophy, and maybe this is controversial. I don't think it's controversial. I think it's the truth. If you're a real musician and you just listen to one kind of music, you're not a real musician. If you claim, say, I'm a real musician, and you just listen to one type of music, like, well, you're not a real musician, dude. You're a guy who plays a guitar and you listen to this kind of music. Like you need to, like I'm a sponge. I'm not one of those dudes who cross his legs and smoke long cigarettes with sweaters on. So I don't listen to music because it might influence me too much to what I'm doing. I'm a thief. I steal music. I listen to everything and I get inspired by that shit. So it's like I listen to a lot of stuff. Like my guitar player, he listened to a lot of stuff. He's very clever. He listens to a lot of like indie music, folk music, indie rock type stuff. He's huge. He's a huge fan for Bright Eyes, like one of his inspirations. And I never knew who Bright Eyes was until he grooved them on me, and I was just like, oh snap. And there's a bunch of stuff he didn't know, like for Prince. I was like, yo man, check this stuff out. And he's like, oh, that's dope. And my keyboard player, he's just a nut. He just likes all kinds of stuff. He synth music, experimental stuff. I forgot the name of one of the bands that he really liked. I forgot the name of it. But yeah, we're all like my bass player, Ryan Worthy, he listened to a lot of different stuff. He used to be in like a heavy, like kind of like punk metal band. So he listened to a lot of heavy stuff. But he also, man, he's such an awesome bass player, but he's such a phenomenal guitar player, awesome singer. So my bass player and my keyboard player, they're in another band called Shady Play, and it's actually a cover band, and they do interpretations of songs in a kind of swing, kind of like jazzy kind of form. Awesome. Like yeah, so they're very eclectic with what they do. Awesome. Like those guys are musicians. Like they actually, teach classes and stuff like that. My drummer, he's very into like heavier music. He really he's into like 311. He loves 311. He's into like Tool. And his drums are very, if you listen to the drums or you've seen him live, I mean he's very bombastic. That was a weird, sorry I did. He's very bombastic in what he does with his drums. So he's very like that adds the rock and the aggressiveness to our music. So
I feel like you can hear all those sounds in your music too.
Yeah.
And I think it's something I've liked about music in the last few years. In the late 90s and the aughts, it kind of seemed like, either you listen to rock or punk or hip hop but now I feel like a lot of people, it's more like genre fluid, and gender too, that's changed, but
yeah.
Because I mean, probably until probably 5 years ago or so, I probably just listened to rock and folk, and and it a lot, and I think that's true for a lot of people. Brett, did you have any other questions?
I think that pretty much covered it. Because I always I think Tim kind of got the musical genre question that I was going to ask. But I guess I'm also kind of curious is like what like so when you had mentioned that you were in that metal band, and then you said also the bass player was also in the metal band. What is it about, I guess, what have you taken from your experience playing that heavier music into your current music, if anything? Or you just kind of do like more of a blank slate in terms of what you're...
No, man, actually it's funny because I use a lot of those elements of my vocal into our music. Like if you see us live and you see like just kind of certain things that I do, I used to do a lot of like high pitch, like black metal, like that kind of, I probably distorted shit, I'm sorry, but that kind of vibe. Use that same element, and then I put a James Brown cadence into it with what we're trying to do in Invisible. Instead of saying, I'm like, woo! Just kind of that like, that James Brown and Prince was doing black metal, dude, back in the day when he's like, all that stuff.
Beautiful Ones.
I was doing a lot of that stuff in my metal band, so I still do that in Invisible cartoon. And then I use a lot of that kind of gruff into my voice. That was always a part of what I did with Stuck on the Water with Invisible. That's my voice. But also I'll do some more crooner stuff with more Invisible, especially the earlier stuff. I'm like, da, 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 da. That's kind of like more like smooth. So I just take those elements and then I put that in my vocal style with Invisible. So you're never gonna. I mean, I was playing that kind of music for 16 years. So you're never gonna. That's never gonna go away in the cadence of what you're doing with, whatever you're doing. So yeah, I definitely do a lot with that. I definitely use a lot of what I did with the metal stuff than I did, with with what I'm doing with Invisible. That's never gonna go away. But it works. People like it, man. And the cool thing about this band, we all sing. It's five. I mean, it's a sound guy's nightmare, but it's five. We got five guys, five mics, and all our voices are so different, but it works.
So
And yeah.
So what like type of bands or favorite regional bands do you tend to play with?
It's this band called, and we haven't played with them in a while, which makes me sad. It's this band called the Civil Engineers out of Madison, Wisconsin. They're more of a soul rock band. More in the soul vibe, but their singer, Molly Ford, she is a beautifully awesome soul. And sometimes I'll get on stage and jam with them because they do a lot of covers too, as well as the originals, and we'll start singing. I get intimidated by her because she can go, and she's awesome. So that's one of the bands. As far as there's another band called the Earthlings from Madison. If I'm looking at more local stuff, there's some bands. The Earthlings from Madison. There's a couple of local bands. A lot of it's weird because I think some bands kind of disappeared. I don't know if they're still doing stuff now, but there's this other band called Flotation. They're really good, straight funk. Their singer, guitar player Ryan Cooper is like, that dude's probably one of the most talented dudes I've ever got the chance to jam with. He's phenomenal. Flotation.
So do you tend to play with a lot of like soul and funk bands?
Yeah, dude, it's funny because we gravitate to soul funk bands and punk bands, and then sometimes we get hip hop acts. People just rapping, and we just we jam with them. And then it's funny because sometimes we'll do an improv when we have a long set. We'll do like a 7-8 minute improv jam. And then if we got an MC who, I'm like, yo, man, come in and do some freestyle. You're a real MC. You can run some bars.
It's funny because I know of who you all are because of Tommy Plural, like GTG. And
right.
So like I like envision you all playing with like punk, like garage rock bands. But that's just the avenue that I've heard you all through. So
yeah, man, and it's weird because we're kind of a punk band with some, we're kind of like a dancey punk band in some kind of way, because we definitely have that, there's some stuff that we kind of got where it kind of gets a little bit aggressive, and we're definitely like bombastic, and we definitely want, kind of chant kind of vibe. We definitely try to make songs that have chant vibes into it. We put your fists in the air and all this other stuff. But yeah, man, it's weird because we've played a few good punk shows. We played a show last year. It's called Nacho Treehouse, and I forgot I think it was like close to Crystal Lake, Illinois. And we played in the living room, and most of the vibe was kind of punk and kind of that vibe. But man, it was like 30, 40 people crammed up in the living room, and it was just, the sound wasn't great, but man, that show was just lit. That was like if COVID was around that time, we're all it was just, everybody was just drenched on each other, and it was just like, yes, this is awesome. So those are my favorite shows. Those type of shows are more fulfilling than if I play some fancy, venue, and sometimes, man, I'm 41 years old. I've been doing this a long time, so it's like sometimes I don't get off on venues like, like, oh man, did you play this place, this place? No, I get off on people digging what I'm doing. And I rather have 30, 40 people jumping around than people just standing there and just kind of like just looking. It's like, move around, man. This is what I'm moving. You move. Let's do stuff. I make music. I'm at a point in my life where I make music for me, and hopefully it gravitates to everybody else. Like I want to make some fun, happy, shake your booty and have a good time kind of music. So that's the vibe. That's the vibe I'm all about, man.
Yeah, both me and Brad have spent a lot of time in Kalamazoo basement shows where 3 or 4 bands, you got 40 people, and you can drink tea, you can drink beer, whatever you feel like. And those are some of my favorite nights to see a show or play.
But, well,
yeah, dude, I love it.
I used to live at a house in Kalamazoo, and we had our basement floors actually were broken due to people moshing. They were so intensely loved this band, the Wood Chickens out of Madison. I don't know if you've ever played with them.
Oh no, I never heard of them. Yeah.
So they play very fast. They play cowpunk music, and they just tore it up. Literally, our entire basement was destroyed, but it was one of the best shows I've ever seen. So
yeah, dude.
Sometimes those are the shows that you remember, I think.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, punk, they is a genre or whatever. To me, punk is a mentality more than anything. Like you can say, well, those guys don't sound like punk, but like I look at us and I kind of we kind of have a punk vibe to us in a way of mentality, in a way of the way we dress and just kind of the way we kind of present ourselves. And I'm very nonchalant and like I just go for it. And and then like I said, that show, I'm like, how the hell can you crowd surf in a living room? I'm like, I'm glad this ain't my house, because I'm conservative as hell at my house. But it's like I'm just like that whole vibe. That's what music's all about. I'll know, as far as the aspects of promoting my band and selling merch and all that stuff, I'm never gonna go away from the passion and the desire of what you get from playing a really good show. Regardless of the elements, just going out there and playing.
Oh yeah.
So we love everybody, man. And like I said, the last 8 years it's been so eclectic as far as the vibe. That when someone who's 50 years old just bought our CD, it's like, all right, cool, man. I can dig that. So. No, and plus, people like we make cookies and stuff, so they like that shit. name a rock band that make cookies for their peoples.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. I look forward to hopefully seeing you all play and having some cookies sometime in the next year. So
yeah, man. So Tim, real quick though, if everything's in a good place in some way, shape, or form, and something can get implemented outdoors, maybe between June and July, hit me up. Let's make something. We'll come out there and do some.
100, yeah. So like as far as in Michigan City, I'm hoping Taste of Michigan City happens in August. And that's like a food fest with 3 stages, and you all would be like perfect for it because I have to book half cover bands, but like you all are the type of band that people are gonna walk by with like a meat stick or whatever, and they're gonna be like, "What's going on over there?" We're gonna stop and watch for a couple minutes.
That's all we ask for, man. We can get somebody's attention for a song or 2 or a song or 7. And that's where we at. So man. We'll get back into some kind of flow. We'll see.
I guarantee as soon as it's like certain that it's safe to do outdoor shows, like I'm gonna do as many in Michigan City as I can because
awesome.
I mean, it's what I love doing.
Yeah, man.
I've learned to tolerate just hanging out in my basement all the time, but I'm right, and it's a lot of the things you said. It's the music, it's the people, it's the bands meeting the other bands and hanging out.
Yeah.
Right.
You find a greater appreciation for it now because of what has happened in the last 10 months. And not to say I ever took it for granted, but when you're playing shows every week, every other week, and that energy and that vibe that you have from that, and that goes away, you just kind of like, damn, what happened? I'm an extrovert introvert. I stayed home. I have a 3-year-old son. I'm about to have another kid next month. So yeah, thank you, man. So that's why 2022 is probably gonna be more. I'm gonna go nuts in 2022 more than 2021, because once my kid gets older, then I can go out and leave my wife to the situation. It'll be an easier situation.
All right.
But yeah, man, I miss it. I miss you guys, man. You know, I can't wait to meet you, Brad. You know, Tim, we'll do it again. We will be back. It's just a matter of when we come back.
Because I think that. Well, I think.
And guess what, Tim? I got a tie dye. I don't know if you like tie dye. I'll probably have a custom tie dye shirt ready for you.
Oh, I appreciate. I try not to wear tie dye because with hair like this, I try to minimize people thinking I'm a hippie. But
yeah, but you put invisible cartoons. You put invisible cartoons on it. They'd be like, "Oh, what's that?"
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you.
It'll be good. It'll be good. We'll be good.
Wait, Brad, what were you trying to say?
No, I was gonna say I really think it's almost like I have this. I don't know if you call it blind faith or whatever it is that just once there is that ability, like you said, like you're in the clear, that people are all just going to kind of come out of the woodwork, and the scene will, to some extent or another, kind of reform itself, and people will have a place to go again. Bands and artists will have an audience again. I don't know.
I mean, I think there's this hope, instead of being like, oh, it's another show, that it's like this resurgence of love of music and friends. So.
It's never gone away. It's because I think that at a certain point I read this article by Jerry Seinfeld where he's talking about how New York isn't really dead. And he was saying basically it's like, yeah, everyone can do things remotely, but we don't want to do it forever. Like the whole thing is we all hate it. I mean, if we could see our friends again, if we could see these shows and have this love and energy in person, it's nothing like it. So
yeah, and my whole thing is a lot of people was afraid that, like, oh man, our people are gonna be afraid when because they had those 3 different tiers. So like, we on level 3 now. Now we can go out and open things up. And people was like, oh, people ain't gonna go out. Man, when they was on level 3 around here, when they said, all right, we can open up this, man, that place. The first show we did with the outdoor, that place was lit. They was like, all right, cool, we're going. People, this is how it's gonna work. We're gonna have when they say, all right, close is clear, and everybody gonna come out like, yeah, they supporting us. Year later, oh, they're not coming to the shows no more. They forget again. That's how human beings work. It's like, they ain't coming to the show. But boy, but guess what? When they do come out, take advantage of that shit. So we can just like go. People miss this. People want to go out. The people not gonna hesitate. If today they say, guess what? Everything's good. People will go out. I'm not. I'm like, I'm gonna wait. But people are hungry for this.
And maybe you might even get people out for a weekday show. We can hope.
I mean, seriously, people like something's open on a Tuesday. I'm like, oh damn, there's like 40 people up here on a Tuesday. Yeah, dude. People hungry, and that's good. We just gotta stay sane, stay afloat, and we'll get back to the groove.
Nice. So I think